I wanted to take a couple of minutes to share with you how we Shoreline residents are forever changing the face of city elections. First, I'm going to share with you the election results, and then I'm going to show how the Shoreline affected the elections. As you know by now, the mayoral election and District 7 council election have gone into runoff. The reason is that no candidate in either race garnered 50% of the overall vote. The voting for the runoff election will be held June 6th through June 14th, with the final vote on June 18th. So how did we Shoreline voters affect the election? In short, the results were absolutely amazing. We had a significant impact. I want to give credit where credit is due. I want to thank every person who voted. I also want to thank those on the Shoreline who called, emailed, and otherwise motivated their friends and neighbors to vote. Your efforts had absolutely incredible results. You have a lot to be proud of. Now, it will be a couple of weeks until we get the actual final count, but we can make a pretty good estimate based on the numbers that we do have. We can get an estimate because our precinct is 42-42. A quick estimate shows that while the Shoreline represents about 10% of the voters in precinct 42-42, we represent about 95% of the votes cast. So, until we get the final data, we can use results from precinct 42-42 as our thermometer. The first thing we see is that the Shoreline accounts for over 300 votes. This means that of the approximately 600 valid registered voters on the Shoreline, well over 50% voted. Percentage-wise, we are one of the top, if not the top, voting constituencies in the city of Fort Worth. The second thing we see is that in total, 5,417 votes were cast across District 7. This means that while the Shoreline voters only represent around 1.2% of the registered District 7 voters, we accounted for 5.5% of all District 7 votes cast. This is huge. In other words, 1 out of every 18 votes cast in District 7 came from the Shoreline. Again, job well done. Every single vote made a huge difference. So, what were the election results and how did the Shoreline affect the races? Below I've included links to the Tarrant County Elections Commission results pages. There's some pretty interesting numbers. Let's start with the results from the mayoral race. While Kathy Hurt did not make the runoff election, she did win the Shoreline vote. While she only took 21% of the citywide vote, she garnered 46% of the Shoreline voters. Conversely, while Betsy Price took 43% of the overall city vote, she only took 26% of the Shoreline vote. Jim Lane took 26% of the overall city votes and 20% of the Shoreline votes. The council results were even more interesting. John Perry took the most votes on the Shoreline. While he took 20% of the total district vote, he took 39% of the Shoreline vote. Dennis Shingleton took the second highest number of Shoreline votes. While he took almost 46% of the total district vote, he took 34% of the Shoreline vote. Here's the real interesting part. As I said before, because Mr. Shingleton took less than 50% of the overall District 7 vote, the election now goes into a runoff. Had Mr. Shingleton taken the entire Shoreline vote, he would have been within 35 votes of winning the election outright and avoiding a runoff. What this means is that it is very clear from this election that getting the Shoreline vote will be very, very important to anyone seeking the District 7 council seat. The good news to whomever wins the election is that it should be very easy to win over the Shoreline residents for their support in the 2013 election. More than any other neighborhood in District 7, the Shoreline has a large number of issues that have been sorely neglected and are in dire need of attention. Luckily, these issues don't require a lot of money. They mostly require a councilman who will listen to the residents and will provide leadership support. If our new councilman works with us and not against us, he will find a fantastic group of people who know how to collaborate and who know how to get things done. By providing good leadership and good representation over the next 24 months, he will be able to garner the Shoreline support for the next election. So what do we need to do now? Well, the election is not over just yet. There will be a runoff vote starting Monday, June the 6th. It is very important that each one of us votes in the runoff. The runoff election is actually more important than the first election. In this runoff, our votes could decide who the next mayor and who the next councilman will be. Just like the first round of voting, I will be providing a daily Shoreline vote count. I don't have the email addresses of everyone on the Shoreline, so you will need to help. Make sure that you contact your friends and your neighbors and let them know how important their vote is. Again, great job everyone. You are changing everything. Let's get ready and let's finish the election. We're in this together. I'm Michael Dallas.